Welcome back, all my new subscribers, old subscribers, and everybody in between. Welcome back to another video I'm doing here. And I saw this article that caught my eye, and I wanted to talk about it. And I'm going to read the article here and then give my thoughts and opinion on it. And it's about a Airbnb type house. It says unusual Michigan Airbnb is actually a house built inside a barn. Scroll down here. It says Bayport, Michigan. It's a barn. It's a house. It's actually both. Check out this unusual $263 per night Airbnb listing located in the small thumb town of Michigan of Bayport. And for you people who are out of state who don't know what the thumb means, Michigan's map looks like a hand. The state of Michigan looks like a hand, and when they talk about the thumb, they're talking like this, like the thumb on the map, hand thumb. Town of Bayport, known for its nearby beaches, boating, and fishing. It's Grandpa George's house in a barn is almost as much a museum as it is a home away from home. What visitors experience at this Airbnb is a tribute to Brian Kems. Kem is spelled K-E-I-M-S. I think I'm pronouncing that right, Kems. But if I'm not, forgive me for butchering the last name. Grandfather that was 2 decades in the making. To us, this is a lot more than a night stay, Brian Kem told MLive. This is a lot more than even just a way to make a little extra money on Airbnb for us. This is a tribute to a special family member of ours and the labor of love our family, my wife, and our 5 children all pitched in to make this happen. Grandpa George's dairy barn dates back to 1956, Kem says. He has fond memories as a kid coming down to his grandpa's place every spare moment I could. Years later, when Grandpa George passed away, Kem and his wife, who are both educators, bought the property and made it their mission to save the barn. The old roof was just starting to wear out. There was even daylight coming through it. I started to freak out and told my wife, whatever we have to do, that barn is not going to fall on my watch. As you can see, Kem did save the barn, and about 15 years ago, he broke ground on the project, which is what it is today. The house in a barn, which just started welcoming visitors as an Airbnb this past summer. We bought the barn and shored it up about 20 plus years ago. Even then, I knew I wanted to do something special in that barn, but was thinking more along the lines of a man cave for our kids to play in. I just didn't know what it would look like yet. Today, it not only looks like a barn with a house inside of it, but it looks like a museum, Kem says. His grandpa was known for being a collector of treasures and junk. The house in the barn is filled with a lot of Grandpa George's old finds. He was a legendary collector who would go to auctions and take boxes and boxes of things home. He had 8 different outbuildings around the property full of his treasures. When we took over the property, we had to take down all those old buildings which were in disrepair and find a home for all of his stuff. Ken said they took dumpster after dumpster of his grandpa's collectibles and junk away, but kept some of the most valued items, many of which are on display for visitors to see. I wanted to do something neat to remember my grandpa by. This spot gave me a place to display his stuff and pay tribute to him. It's kind of cross between a man cave on steroids and a museum where you can spend hours just looking at things. I can spend an hour just showing a guest 10 pieces of memorabilia on a shelf, and it goes into a story after story from there. The house in the barn sleeps 6 to 8 people comfortably. It has one bedroom with a queen bed attached to the main bathroom. There is also a large sectional couch which can sleep a couple more, another couch in the loft, and 2 more couches in the enclosed kids' loft. There's a couple of converted beds, Ken says. The space is intended for more for families looking for a getaway. We didn't want to make it so it could be accommodated a huge number of people and turn it into a party place. We wanted smaller groups of people and families who could appreciate it like we do. So far, that's exactly the type of visitors we have had. The families include some bicycle visitors can use. There's also kayaks for rent. Visitors can also build a campfire and use the grill. Kim hopes people will not only have a memorable stay, but will appreciate the history of the barn and labor of love tribute to my Grandpa George. We spent countless hours in that barn putting things together, making this come to life. What this barn has done is captured some memories of my grandpa. It's just unique enough to where you do not have to know my grandpa to have a good time. We try to make both entertaining and nostalgic for people who like old things. Okay, what's my thoughts on this article and this guy turning this barn into a house and museum about his family's history? I think it's a great and neat idea. You know, I think what this person did here was a great idea. He's paying tribute to a family member, which is great. He's keeping his family's history alive and sharing it with the world, and I think it's a great idea. And I like what he did to the house and stuff. I like what he did. He had an old barn. He didn't know what to do with it, so he converted it into a nice house and museum, and I think it's great. And not only is that making money for his family, but it's also helping the Michigan economy. It's also helping the United States economy. It's helping boosting the economy and all around. I think it's a neat, cool idea. Heck, if I had the money and the funds, sometime I'd probably go visit this place. But I think it's a great and wonderful idea. And what caught my attention about this article was how it's a barn converted into a house. Because years ago, when I was a kid, my uncle Roger, my one uncle I had, his grandparents, my mother's grandparents, and my uncle's grandparents, which would be my great grandpa and grandma, they one time years ago bought a small little barn and converted the small little barn into like a little 2-bedroom house, and that's what caught my attention is about the house and barn. And years later, my great grandparents, when they passed on, my uncle Roger, he ended up buying this house and living in the house that was converted into a barn. Because when I was a kid, my mother told the story about the house. Because I asked my mom one time, "Hey, how did my uncle obtain this house?" She said, "Well, that used to be your great grandparents' house, and when I was a kid, I remember Grandpa and Grandma shoveling the manure and cleaning the barn out to get it ready, prepped to build it into a little house." And I think this is a neat idea. It's good to keep your family's history alive and stuff. It's a wonderful idea. Keep your family's history alive, share it with the world. And then it's got awesome Michigan history, because you never know, there might be some stuff the guy's got on display that was probably made in Michigan. I was at the time the guy was talking about dumpster after dumpster. Hell, I would have loved to have gone through those little barns and see what little treasures I could have found. Because I grew up around them old people that had just outbuildings full of stuff, and I grew up around those kind of hoarder type old people. You would say, "Hey, that's cool, can I have that? How much you want for that?" And they'd be like, Well, I don't know if I can part with her there, sonny. I grew up around those people. I know he talks about his grandpa being a hoarder. I grew up around those types of old boys that, they had all kinds of stuff, but they just, for some reason, couldn't part with it. I had a grandpa myself that was a hoarder and stuff, and yeah, and seeing that it was a house barn, that caught my eye because I had an uncle that lived in a house that used to be a barn and was converted into a little house, and I think it's a neat idea all around. So if you like more of these videos and you want to see more of this stuff, feel free to like and share it and subscribe to my channel so you can get updated on when I post new videos, because I'll post more types of videos of these and other content as well as I come along. And feel free to comment what you thought about this article. I will also put a link in the description so you can read and give your opinion about what you think of this house barn thing, If I had the funds, heck, I'd probably go check it out myself. But yeah, if you want to see more of these videos, again, like, subscribe to the channel, and I'll do more of this kind of content, And I hope you all have a wonderful day, and thank you for taking some time out of your day to look at my videos, And I hope you all have a beautiful day and a better one tomorrow.